Right. And before you, you have an agenda. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Move approval.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we have our October 16th, 2025 minutes. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Move approval.
All in favor?
Aye.
Getting right into our new business, and I'm actually really happy that we have this top of the agenda for today, considering the fact the announcement made last night. So we are joined by Robert Dineman from Capitol Council with our current status in Washington, D.C. And he has a smile on his face today. So, Rob, we'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
First time in 44 days.
Yeah, right?
Good morning, council members. Great to be with you again. And I'll talk a little bit about the update. But yeah, we obviously the most important news last night, the president signed the continuing resolution to reopen the federal government after the longest extended federal shutdown in history, 44 days. A couple of details about that bill that are relevant, and then I'll talk about sort of what comes next, and then we can dive into the legislative agenda. This is an extension of the continuing resolution, so we are still operating under essentially FY24 dollars. This will fund the government out through January 31st. Giving the Congress about 2.5 more months to continue its appropriations process. The good news, as part of this bill that was signed last night, it did include 3 full appropriations bills for FY26, funding the legislative branch, the agriculture appropriations bill, and what's called MILCON VA, which is Military Construction and Veterans Affairs. That's significant in the sense that we haven't had any actual regular order appropriations bills in almost 2 years now. So that is a good sign. I will point out that ag bill fully funds SNAP through the end of fiscal year 26. So any of the drama around nutrition assistance would be off the table were we to see another situation at the end of January in terms of a shutdown or a stalemate. The bill also contained provisions to rehire any of the federal workers that were subjected to reductions in force during the shutdown. And notably, it did not include any agreement on extension of the healthcare subsidies, which were arguably at the core of the political battle. It did include a statutory promise on that the Senate would hold a vote on those subsidies sometime in the next month. We expect that to likely be in early December, but it included nothing on the House side, and so very much up in the air as to how the House representatives will proceed with the healthcare debate in the next 30 days or so. Congress will, I think, as a whole, turn its attention towards those remaining spending bills. I think you have 4 appropriations leaders in the chair and ranking, both in the Senate and the House, who want to see that bipartisan process move forward. It is likely we will see another, what we call minibus, which is kind of a tranche of 2 or 3 or 4 of the remaining 9. Likely the defense, labor, HHS, and transportation HUD bills would move sometime in December as the next tranche. That's good news for us. A lot of our stuff are in those bills, not all of it, but a lot of it. So it's likely that we'll see a pivot towards those appropriations. The National Defense Authorization Act is another kind of must-pass by year end. We have 2 versions of that bill already out of the Senate and the House. We just need to conference that bill together. And then, not relevant to the city per se, but there is a large national forest firefighting reform bill that's going to move through on the floor of both chambers. So fingers crossed we can get this regular appropriations work complete avoid any more drama at the end of January 31st, get our projects funded, which will be in all of those appropriations bills, and get through the end of the year. With that, I'll maybe turn it back to you for any questions, or we can turn it over to David to jump into the legislative agenda.
All right, great. Thank you for that update. Any questions for Mr. Diamond before we move on to our draft priorities agenda? No? All right. Well, then we'll go ahead and turn it over to David Thompson, our Government Affairs Director, to walk us through the draft that's in front of us for the federal legislative priorities.
Thank you, Chair. And just quickly, I want to give a quick update on the federal community project funding as it relates to this. So Rob mentioned that the transportation, housing, urban development is likely to be in the next package. That is where the $850,000 that PSTA were partnering for the ferry dock, that is where that appropriations would come in. And then if they do the Department of Justice in that tranche as well, the $480,000 for the police take-home vehicles would be in that. The outstanding two projects, the storm drainage on 88th Avenue North and the storm drainage Salt Creek to 32nd Avenue South, unfortunately, those are FEMA projects, which means they're in Homeland Security. And with everything around immigration, that is probably one of the most contentious appropriations bills. So I would not expect that in the first tranche. That's probably going to be much closer to January that we would see that. But that's just a status update on where we are as it relates to those bills.
And David, as you know, that Commerce Justice bill is also a controversial one due to the fight over the FBI headquarters, which was supposed to be moving to Maryland. The Trump administration is looking to reverse that, and that's going to be a big fight and could likely delay that one a bit. So, yep.
Yeah. So, but ferry dock, we can be excited about that one. So I'll just go ahead in the agenda. I first just want to give a little context on this. Understanding that we're still in the same Congress, it's the same people, the legislative agenda is largely the same. The items that have been removed, which I'll go over, are either reflective of the administration's stance on these items or legislation that has already been addressed. So previously, in the Environment, Infrastructure, and Resilience section, we did have extreme heat and offshore drilling. With the Homeland Security Secretary's real focus on immigration, they're not really looking at expanding the role of FEMA, so we've removed the extreme heat, and the administration has not really made any steps forward towards offshore drilling, so we're moving that from the agenda for the coming year. The low-income housing tax credits under Housing Opportunities for All, that was addressed in the reconciliation package where they were expanded. Let me just make sure. I think there's one other. Apologies. Let me just make sure I'm lining that up. Yes. Okay. Those ones are the same. And opportunity zones. Excuse me. That was the last one in the equitable development, arts, and business opportunities. That was also expanded through the reconciliation package earlier this year, and so considered those addressed. The items that were added, you'll see those in the draft that's there. Looking towards 2026, Congress will be reauthorizing the Water Resources Development Act and surface transportation. I know when Rob and I met with most of you all earlier this year, we flagged that as two major areas of opportunity for the city. And so we'll be advocating on those two items and some information. We can talk a little bit more if you'd like on those. Homeless services, Councilor Fix Sanders, I know we did not find the exact thing that we wanted at the state level for homeless services, but at the federal level, we do see some opportunities. And speaking with Administrator Foster, there are several concerns that she identified related to the continuum of care and the permanent supportive housing programs that folks in the community are concerned about potential cuts or changes to those programs, and so we want to identify those and be supportive. Okay. And then under neighborhood health and safety, we already had first responder support, but understanding council priorities and hearing from our PD and fire, addressing the escalating costs of public safety equipment, and Senator Josh Hawley has been somebody who's held hearings on this, and so I think that is something that we will likely see some level of movement on in consideration moving forward. So those are the changes, and I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, committee members, Vice Chair Hanowitz.
Thank you, Chair. And first of all, thank you, Rob, for your report. It's wonderful news for everyone that the government is now actually in Washington working. They're doing some business. So I think that's wonderful news. And David, thank you so much for your work on the federal legislative agenda. It's all great. So I'm just curious, and you said you could elaborate a little on the Water Resources Development Act. This deals with ports and navigability of channels.
Yep.
What do they consider hurricanes and everything that's happening? Is that something that we should highlight, the importance of ports basically because of hurricanes and what we went through last year? So I just want to see where we're at with that.
Yeah, so as they start, and this is part of one of the issues with the House not having met for almost 60 days, is they're behind on some of the preliminary hearings they should have had that would have given us a little bit more eye into what the scope of they're going to be looking at. But absolutely, infrastructure is a really important part of that. And this is, the water resources is what governs the Army Corps of Engineers.
Right.
So that's beach renourishment, but there have been instances following Hurricane Sandy where the Army Corps actually did home elevations. And that's something that we've spoken with Congresswoman Castro and our delegation about for a while, trying to figure out, as you all have probably heard, the Army Corps is not an easy group to deal with, but trying to see if there are ways that we can support our residents, non-traditional methods through the water resources. So we'll continue to do that, but absolutely infrastructure will be a part of it as we're looking towards the port master plan and what that area looks like for the city of St. Pete. That'll also be relevant. And there's just, any number of different waterfront portions of the city that are relevant. I think particularly for Chair Gabbard's district, there's been conversations about dredging and what the federal government might do to support dredging and navigability at smaller, maybe not traditionally considered navigable waterways, but still of regional significance. So a lot that could potentially come out of that section.
And Councilmember, if I may,
Yes.
I'd encourage you. It's as to David's point. This will now be the perfect time to send in, really in written form, in the form of a letter or some sort of a memo of where you and we can help you with this on concerns or ideas about what the bill needs to include, to transmit those to the committees of jurisdiction and the staffs there on behalf of the council. Between now and the start of the new year is the perfect window to do something like that, because to David's point, they are way behind. This is a very compressed legislative session right now, as you can imagine, with the Thanksgiving holidays into the December holidays, and really this committee work will not pick up in earnest until January. So something like WRDA, which is kind of I hate to call anything a must pass anymore in Washington D.C. because they don't seem to exist, but that's going to be an important one for next year, and certainly something that I would encourage you guys to lean into.
I think that's a wonderful idea. I mean, there are lots of items that they discuss that are highly politicized, let's just say. I can't imagine this should be one of those. So if there's an area where we can get some traction, I'd be happy to support and write letters and all that. So whatever direction you could give us out, my office will reach out, and then we'll work with administration in terms of what we can do. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Just to that point, we don't have another meeting scheduled until January 29th, and I know that's a little later than the guidance that was just given. Could always be a resolution brought to City Council for all of us to support whatever you work on collectively together, because this is obviously an issue of shared importance for all of us, and I would certainly support seeing something like that upstairs, so that we could just move it a little bit faster.
Yeah, if the other committee members, if they feel comfortable with that, I'd be happy to help with that, and I know that it's important to all the communities. I mean, we're a peninsula. And there's flooding throughout the city. There are projects, obviously, that are going to help us all, especially if this act is something that they're going to be focusing on. If we can do something to encourage it and help our Congress person, get it through the line, then I'd be happy to do that. So Yep.
And to David's point, I'd love to see some language, if you do go that path, that does speak specifically to working with the Army Corps, because they are
Yep.
historically difficult, and I think it's just bogged down in their process more than anything. So if there could be any support, in
Yeah.
any sort of legislation that could speed them along a little bit, that would be helpful too.
That'll be great. Yeah, and any other suggestions the committee members have, we can definitely do that, and then hopefully work with Rob and come up with something that I think is good in administration. Thank you. That's
Great work. Thank you.
suggestion.
Councilmember Driscoll.
Thank you. On the surface transportation reauthorization, in the draft agenda, it mentions Vision Zero, which looks like it aligns perfectly with Secretary Duffy's priorities on safety, but I haven't heard it talked about a lot. So are we sure that that is a specific initiative that the US DOT is supportive of? And Rob, this could be for you.
Yeah, let me report back to you. I don't have anything in front of
Yeah.
me that tells me either direction about Vision Zero specifically. So those are local projects that fall under, broader DOT safety grant programs. But I don't have anything that would tell me not, but let me confirm that for you.
Okay, I'm just wondering why we chose to point that one out.
From my perspective, and maybe Vision Zero is not the word that I want to use, but fundamentally about safety for all users. And so if there's more comfort with using that more language and specifically the branding around Vision Zero, I'm happy
Yeah.
to make that change.
I think maybe it's just sometimes things that we think they would be completely supportive of and are aligned, like complete streets.
Yeah,
Suddenly that's a horrible phrase to use.
right.
But everything that it's about is aligned with
their
the
priorities.
greater values. Yeah. So I'm hoping that this isn't another one of those, and that we don't actually accidentally have something stand out that is not looked at favorably,
Absolutely.
even if the work itself is totally supported.
So Rob and I will look into that. Thank you.
Okay. The rest of it looks really good, and I really appreciate all the work that has gone into this. I think it really shows that, like, what is pointed out here is aligned with what the administration says that they prioritize. And so it's interesting, I think. And then, we take it a step further and ask for more
Yeah.
and say why it's aligned. It's just really spelled out so well. And I feel like it's one of our strongest that we've done to date. So thank you for that. Thank you, Chair.
Councilmember Fix Sanders.
Thank you. Okay, David, thank you for the update on the COC. And actually, when it says cuts to critical programs like continuum of care, we're just the MOU facilitator for the Homeless Leadership Alliance, which is the one that actually provide the majority of the service. COC is just comprised of a lot of different organizations impacted in the homeless community. So I'm wondering, and I know you said that there's funding on a federal level, fantastic, let's continue to move that. But would we, when we were looking at the funding, when you say continuum of care, that's a whole lot of organizations.
Yes.
Right? So if we picked one particular organization, like the Homeless Leadership Alliance, do you think that we would have a better chance of assistance at the state level? Because the continuum of care is a whole lot of people.
Right.
It's a whole lot that would benefit from that versus singling out the one organization that really, I really can't say that they do the primary of the work, because everybody in COC is valuable.
Right.
And they provide something, but would we do better by singling out one organization at the state level versus a whole lot?
Right. Let me check in with Administrator Foster on that,
Okay.
because I know the the concerns about those two organizations were, or those two structures or streams were concerns that she had identified. So let me just make sure that this is
Okay, and
reflected.
can I be a part of that conversation to see what those were?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. And going to the affordable home ownership, we talked about what some of those would look like. Support affordable home ownership, including down payment assistance, flexible financing, and restrictions on institutional investors. When I hear that word restriction, although I would love that, I don't know if we could promote, and I know we do it locally, incentives for affordable housing developers. Because I know that we've tried to do that, you know, with lot purchasing and the whole things. I know we want to restrict that, but when I hear the word restrictions, someone may also hear that word and think that we're trying to keep, you know, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we
without
can
saying it.
frame it in a positive light.
Please.
Yep.
Please, because I don't want us to jeopardize any opportunities for affordable home ownership at all. But I do know that affordable home developers struggle with the cost because the materials are still the same, whether they're, you know, selling market rate or affordable. So if we can include maybe the incentives for affordable housing, that would be great. And that's all I had. Thank you, Chair.
Right, thank you. So I had a question about the resolution that City Council passed supporting the ACA tax credits. And I had heard that there's supposed to be a separate Senate vote sometime in December on that. Rob, can you speak a little bit to that?
Yes, so the language that was signed into law last night to reopen the government included a promise from Senate Republicans to hold a vote on the healthcare tax subsidy extensions sometime within the next month. Expected that would be early December. However, as I noted earlier, there is no linked promise to bring any vote to the floor in the House. And Speaker Johnson in the House has indicated, or has provided no indication that the House will move something forward. Democratic Minority Leader Jeffries in the House yesterday discussed introducing what's called a discharge petition, which would require a majority of 218 votes to force a healthcare subsidy package onto the floor of the House. That could happen. There might be some moderate swing district Republicans around the country, thinking specifically California, New York members who are up for re-election next year, who would be interested in seeing that package move. So I by no means is this a dead issue in the House of Representatives. I think there are some mechanisms where it could get there. The trick here, though, is that, or not the trick, the major question, though, is we've seen no language from anybody about what the substance of this extension would be. Is it a 1 year? Is it a 3 year? Who does it apply to? How does it apply? Will it be retroactive? Because some of these rates are going to start to go into effect pretty quickly. The White House and the president have sort of indicated no direction they want to go from a policy perspective. So while yes, we have an assurance of a vote in at least the Senate, we are lacking a lot of detail, from my opinion.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that update. So to the draft agenda, I would love to see, and apologize if I'm missing it, I scanned it several times, looking for some verbiage or where it might fall under one of these categories for us to continue to support the Affordable Health Care Act and those tax credits. I imagine it'd probably be best suited under neighborhood health and safety. So I would just ask that administration add that as another bullet point, because I just think, City Council has already voted in support of that resolution. So we have obviously given our support there. And I just want to make sure that that kind of continued conversation, and that we show Rob that we support that, and we want to make sure that he's doing his best on that issue.
Absolutely.
When Kathy Castor, when we had our update from our federal delegation, the representative from Kathy Castor's office was talking about the Coastal Protection Act. Do you have any updates on that, kind of where that stands right now?
No, unfortunately, the House has not met in
Yeah.
6 weeks, so there's been no committee meetings, no progress on anything. That bill was introduced to committee level and has not moved since. That's not to say there will not soon to be hearings, but unfortunately, I can't provide you any. There's been no movement on it since we last talked about it.
Okay, but that bill was filed, correct? That is a filed
Yes.
bill. Okay. And I'm kind of crossing between the draft and the bill tracker, so
Yes.
apologies if I'm kind of
But we can-
intersecting those two things, but I think it kind of all goes hand in hand. I'd like to see a little bit more verbiage under our environment bullet points regarding coastal protection. Rob, does that also correlate to, I had read an article about some, I guess, bipartisan work around wanting to try to file some bills that would prohibit any sort of offshore drilling in the Gulf, and that had been a bipartisan between Congresswoman Castor's office, Senator Rick Scott, and Senator Moody. Can you speak a little bit about that? Is that in addition to this Coastal Protection Act, or is that the same or similar?
I don't know I've not seen any of the legislation that would outright prohibit it. There is a tension here, though, that we're seeing. You know, you have an administration that is very forward-leaning on continuing to loosen up restrictions on offshore leasing for oil and gas. We're seeing it in Alaska. We're seeing it all along the West Coast and Gulf of Mexico. So the question is, will that come around to the southeast coast? So it is an issue that the delegation and folks concerned about this need to be fighting on, because the administration is in real time opening up leasing in all other areas of offshore waters around the country. So this isn't a hypothetical.
Yeah.
But I will have to report back to you on sort of the link up of those between the Coastal Protection Act and some of the other sort of opposition specifically to the drilling.
Okay, and if we could include that as well in any sort of environmental bullet that we can put around coastal protection. Certainly understanding tourism is very important to our overall economy here in Pinellas County and St. Petersburg, and that could have a chilling effect if they expand the way they would like to. So I'd like to make sure that we're looking at that.
And I'll put both the coastal protection and the American Shores Protection, that's the Scott
perfect.
bill,
Okay.
on the federal bill tracker.
Okay, perfect. And then the only other thing I have for the bill tracker, we talked about the ACA tax credits. I don't think there's necessarily a bill, for instance, but would certainly like to see that on here. The Coastal Protection Act, as we discussed. And then council also passed a resolution in support of the Flood Insurance Relief Act. There has been a companion bill, as I understand, that's been filed. So want to make sure that we have that on our bill tracker as well. Council members, since I kind of put the two together and talked a little bit about the bill tracker as part of the agenda, anything on the bill tracker that you all have questions on or want to see on the federal one, the one pager? No? Oh, Councilmember Fix Anderson.
Thank you. The only thing that we'll not really see, but I want to continue to monitor, and I know Ron talked about on the SNAP program through the end of January 2026, but I can only imagine that there's already conversation about extending and how and what that looks like, because I know it was signed last night, but a lot of people still were not happy with the version that we had. Has there been any future conversation, or no, current conversation, because I know the end of January did not suffice with a lot of people in response. is there any conversation or other plans that we can do to continue to monitor this? I know we're tracking this, but I would love to continue to have a very active verbal conversation on this SNAP program, because I love the fact how many people rallied around in preparation to try to fill that gap. But I can only imagine that there are other bills and things that are getting ready to be filed. So I know it's on here, it's going to stay on here, and I don't know how often we're going to get an update on it, but that's one I really want to monitor over the next.
Yeah. So I'm happy to.
Councilmember.
Rob?
No, I'm sorry, ma'am, I just wanted to correct you respectfully. The bill that was signed into law last night takes SNAP benefits all the way through September of 26. So it is fully funded for FY 26, and it will not be. Yep, it will not be an issue in January. So that is current funding.
Okay.
But to your broader issue about SNAP reform and SNAP expansion, which is a separate issue. Certainly, that is an area where I think you would continue to see some activity in Congress. However, I don't think that's an area that the administration is very focused on. So it would encourage you to push on that, but realizing I think the issue is less on the congressional side, frankly, and much more with the Secretary of Agriculture and the administration.
And thank you. I'd rather for you to respectfully correct me than to think you're wrong, because I wrote down January. So yeah, no, thank you for that. I appreciate that. But that's all.
Okay,
So, Chair,
perfect.
if I just
Yes.
add to that. So the city, through the mayor, whatever structure under, is a part of the Mayor's Alliance to End Hunger. They sent out an update following last week, and I'm happy to share their most recent update and moving forward if all of council would like to get their updates. But they're doing a lot on the staff advocacy. Mayor Welch has signed on to some of their letters. We stay engaged with them as well. And I'll just quickly give you some of the updates that they shared, but I will share this email with you. Anyone who got partial November benefits, or the states, excuse me, that only sent out partial November benefits will need to, as soon as possible, send out the remainder of those benefits. That's really the immediate point. And then states that provided state-funded benefits this month will also send out the federal benefits. So we're going to continue to monitor that. The December benefits should go out without any interruption, and then we'll continue to stay engaged with them. They're also one of the big partners that when we talk about our advocacy at the state level for the summer meals program, they support us with information to stay engaged on that. So happy to share future updates from them with council.
Yeah, I just want to be current on that with what I'm understanding.
Yes, absolutely.
That's fine. Okay. Thank you, Chair.
All right. So there is a draft here. We are at the point where we could ask for some final revisions to come back at our January 29th meeting. Could approve it as is. I don't know for myself with what I had brought up and asked to have added. I don't know that I'm ready to necessarily vote on moving it forward today, but if there was a motion, I just wanted to provide that opportunity. Yes.
Sure.
Vice
I mean,
Chair
if,
Hannah.
I don't know if there is a need to do it quickly. If there isn't, that I wouldn't rush it
Yeah.
and just do the work.
Yeah.
So I think there's been some feedback, and if there, unless there is a need, there's.
No.
Yeah.
I think from our perspective, it would also be the timing of the next layer meeting lines up with when the government is supposed to be funded. So I think that interim period will give us some guidance of when we come back next time, if there's anything that needs to change on this.
Perfect.
Based on where we are. So I think there's
Okay,
any rush from our
perfect.
perspective.
Okay, good. All right. Everybody feel comfortable with that then?
Yep.
January 29th?
Yep.
I didn't know if Tina had her hand up.
All right, anything else?
Okay.
All right, well, thank you, Rob and David, for the
Thank you.
federal update. Thank you for continuing to do the good work in DC and continuing to smile through it all. We appreciate you. So thank you so much. So we're going to move on now to our more time sensitive, which is our current status in Tallahassee. So we are joined by Laura Beamer from the Southern Group. Laura, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to start off by saying happy birthday to Doyle, because today's his birthday.
Birthday.
David's going to sing in a little bit. So current status in Tallahassee, the appropriations deadline in the House is approaching. It's next Friday. So meetings last week were dominated by budget talks. There are, the messaging that I'm getting from the House and Senate is to temper expectations. There was a tax implication with the big beautiful bill. That's roughly $3 billion. If they adopt the code in its entirety, it'd be a $3 billion hit. If they adopt parts of it, it's about it'd be half, right? About $1.5 billion. So they're dealing with that on top of trying to also make cuts to make sure that the next 2 years and actually the next 4 years are intact based on revenue expectations. So that being said, we're still, going forward with our appropriation request. There still will be member projects, but I would expect to see some major cuts in, especially healthcare and education because they're the two biggest budgets. The other thing that's dominating the talks in Tallahassee, obviously, is property tax reform. As you know, the House began meeting their select committee on property tax reform in the summer. They have released 8 proposals so far, and the Senate, to this point, has released none. They're going through the normal process. Their Finance and Tax Committee will be contemplating any type of property tax reform. I've been told the only 2 scenarios that the Senate is currently looking at are an additional $50,000 to the homestead or an additional $100,000 to the homestead. They have not contemplated any of the House's proposals, and as we know, the governor at this point has not released a proposal as well. So TBD on all of that, but expect that to dominate the rest of the committee weeks and also going into session. I will say something's going to pass. We don't know what that's going to look like, but the House and Senate are very far apart on what they see as the end game here. So obviously we'll keep you updated as things progress. And then I would say the only bill that has really moved so far last week was sovereign immunity. It passed its first committee of reference. We still don't have a Senate companion filed, but that bill would increase the limits to 500 and $1 million. Versus 200, 300 now, right? Is that right, Jane? 200, 300 what is it now? So, other than that, we're still having bills filed. The filing deadline has not passed yet, so we're still seeing bills pop every day. Still have no Senate Bill 180 fix filed yet, so obviously we're tracking that as well. And session starts the second week of January, so we have another committee week next week, and then we have 2 committee weeks in December. And then we start on the second Tuesday in January. So.
All right, great, thank you. Anything to add, David, before we turn it over to committee members?
I think that's pretty much it. If there's any specific questions on the track, we'll have that time. So
Okay, Vice Chair Hanowitz.
Thank you. And thank you for the update, Laura. I know you said SB 180 fix not filed yet, but is there anything else about SB 180?
I mean, we haven't seen language yet.
I can give you a quick update.
That would be great.
So I had a call with Senator Nick DeSigli this morning, and actually he shared with me that the 180 glitch bill, if we just want to call it that, is in drafting. Okay. And so that is moving forward. He is actively working on it. Some great stuff that he shared, but I don't want to, until it comes out of drafting, I don't want to, you never know what's actually going to come out of drafting. But yeah, some really great ideas that he has, and his commitment to making sure that those fixes are made. He is very strong in that. So I think we'll probably be seeing something maybe in the next week or so. When is bill filing deadline?
I think the bill filing is the first day of session, isn't it? The final bills in the House?
because I think the House and Senate have different.
They
Yeah.
stagger them.
Yeah, so.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. And
Yes.
maybe administration, I'm sure you've probably been having conversations, but, obviously those in our planning department and experts in their fields that can probably help with what the issues are having with some of the language to actually be able to do the work that they need to do in land regulation and everything else. Maybe they can also chime in before it goes out. So.
Yes, yeah.
That
And
would
with
be
the
great.
Florida League of Cities as well, collecting all of that feedback from the cities, we're locked in.
Good. That's good to hear. And then in terms of the other thing, which is property taxes, you said that the Senate's contemplating $5,000 or $100,000 addition.
Yeah.
500,000. 50,000 or 100,000 additional in homestead exemption.
Correct.
Now, is that just across the board or
Across the board.
across the board? Okay.
That's the only thing they're studying right now.
Okay, and are they, when you say they're studying, are there going to be any studies in terms of what the impact is going to be?
That's what they're studying. So
Okay.
they've told me that they want to know what is the impact to, to our counties, to our rural communities. What are the real numbers when we
Okay,
something like this forward?
okay.
Yep.
Just because, and I know we've talked about it before, I believe based on the 2026 budget that we just recently passed, we were at 95.7 in terms of public safety spending for our tax dollars, and that is higher. It's at 97 point something at this point. So when I hear additional exemptions, that still hits us, and I'd be curious what those numbers look like for the city if they did something across the board, whether it's at 50 or 100, and what those numbers may be, so that way you have that information to give to them. Because my understanding is if they, at one point, eliminated property taxes on homesteaded properties, and if my memory serves me correct, Tom had said that would be a hit to the city of $82 million. If it was just homesteaded, yes. I don't know. And look at Tom comes from. Disappears. And he just appeared. Hi, Tom.
Good morning. And, Councilmember Hanowitz, you hit it almost right on the head. I think it's about 83 million. If the entirety of the homesteaded properties were exempted from taxes, it would be about 83 million. Forecasting based on our tax year 25, which funds FY 26. So that number would grow depending on when it was implemented, but that's the number we're
Okay.
looking at.
And for those that are watching, that would not include properties that are second homes that are not homesteaded. So we still maintain that. And the total amount, by the way, that we receive for real estate taxes is about 223 million.
228.
228.
Again,
Look, I'm almost in the range. $228 million that we get from real estate taxes. So 83 million is if they got rid of homesteaded properties, and now we're looking at a difference. Now the Senate's thinking 50,000 to 100,000, and you could probably come up with those numbers.
And Ann and Erica and I have been looking at this, obviously, and so at 100,000, it's right at just a touch under $30 million impact at 29.9 million. So then at 50, it'd be half of that.
Okay, so it could be so even the Senate, considering the House proposals are probably a lot worse. Well, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe they're not a lot worse, but even at 50,000 across the board, we're looking at $15 million hit, and that goes to our public safety.
Correct.
A lot of it. 97 point something percent of it.
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to put those numbers out there so for those that are listening and also are curious as to what the effect is on our government. I mean, we've just talked about the big, beautiful bill and the effects to the state, right? And how they're it's a, what is it, $3 billion hit? Mm-hmm. And now we're talking about another hit at the local level, and specifically to public safety. So, okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Anything else for Tallahassee? No? All right. Well, we will not have another meeting before session starts, but I anticipate that we will be up there with you and we will see you. And we just really want to thank you in advance because I'm sure it's going to be another incredible session one way or another, and all of your work that you do in Tallahassee for us. We just so appreciate. It's great to know that we have such a effective champion for the city of St. Petersburg. So thank you for everything you do, Laura.
Yes, thank you.
All right, administration, anything else?
Can I give a quick good news
Certainly
update?
can.
So, as you all know, we've been exploring all funding options. We'll give you a comprehensive update after this, but hot off the presses into the great work of Claude's team, Angela Miller, these two in Tallahassee. We got word that through the State Revolving Loan Fund, we were awarded $35 million for the drinking water program. So that's the Water Resources Potable Water Program. 17.5 million of that is in principal forgiveness. So that's essentially a grant. Additionally, in the Clean Water Program, Water Resources Wastewater Program has been awarded $19.2 million in loans with approximately $9.6 million in principal forgiveness. So that equals $27.1 million in forgivable, essentially grant money. Now, there is an extensive application process. Those are due in March. We'll send you an update, but thank you to you all for your leadership, and then especially Claude and that team, and then these people back here, Erica and Ann and Tom, and then these two in Tallahassee. So wanted to end on that good news item, and there's been a lot of work that's gone into that over the last couple of months. So
And 0% interest.
And
on the other
0%
part of the
interest.
Even
loan.
better.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it, love it. Great.
Chair.
Thank you for sharing the success. Very much appreciated. All right. Anything else? Legal, do you have anything? Nope. All right. Well, thank you all so much. Started a little late, but we are ending a little early. So
Good.
we'll take
Right.
it. All right. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Meeting adjourned, Katie.
My name is Lisa Fleming. My business is Dress Up Studio. It's actually a boutique, one of the newest boutiques in downtown St. Pete, on the corner of First Avenue North and 6th Street. I'm from Puerto Rico, and in Puerto Rico, fashion is big. I guess like everything started back with, my parents, right? Like especially my mom. My mom loves fashion, and of course, when she had her 4 kids, like everything kind of like all the attention like turned into us. So I was, early introduced to fashion. I had a passion for it, so I really wanted to have a space where I could find pieces, for any occasion. I was in an environment that was highly dominated by male, and I wanted to obviously, keep it professional, but still be true to myself. And, fashion was that, way to really, be able to have fun. St. Pete is very special in the sense that it truly supports small businesses. And I really feel like when you go out there and you have the opportunity to really engage with other business owners, they're extremely helpful as well. And I think that's incredibly valuable. There's something in here for every single person. They just need to come in and play with us.
My name is William Clifton. I work at the tire shop for the city of St. Petersburg. I'm a tire and wheel specialist. My general responsibilities are to make sure everything rolls. We just make sure everybody's rolling safe. We deal with garbage trucks, fire department, wheelbarrows, forklifts. We pretty much deal with anything that has a tire. Some days it's 10, 20, and some days we're just non-stop. I know there's over 100 sanitation trucks. I think there's roughly 300 police vehicles, upwards of 1,000. or better. We have the big loaders. I think that's probably the heaviest, the biggest tire. Smallest, I've worked on probably forklift tires, the rear tires on a forklift, or wheelbarrow tires. I love the work. The work is fun. I mean, I like working with my hands. I feel like the tire shop is an integral part in the city because without us, nothing rolls. No fire truck, no police department, no water department, no tractors, no backhoes. All that comes to us. Well, right before Hurricane Irma came here last year, we were the last group of people out of the compound, and we were the first people in the compound back to work. We got somebody that needs tires right away. You can have all the running vehicles you want, but without tires, they're going nowhere.
Pablo Mardones. I'm the owner of the Chrome Factory here in St. Pete.
I'm Angie Gray. I am the assistant right-hand woman of Pablo.
Yeah. Me and my friend Felipe, we opened this store together. We had this idea that we were kind of tired working like our corporate jobs, you know. Although life was very like stable and all that, we wanted just to have something like of our own and kind of like work a little bit more like the life-work balance, you know, in our favor. So we decided to open a restaurant. We are in 57, the corner of 57 and Central. So like we are 1 block away from the Sunrunner, which is pretty cool too. Like before we open, like we didn't know this was gonna happen. We have a stop right here, like less than a block away, and so we are very close to the beach, but not too far from downtown.
I actually quit my corporate job and wanted something more like local, family-friendly, work-life balance, as you said. I submitted my resume to the Crumb Factory, and not even 10 minutes later, Pablo got back to me and was like, "Hey, come in for an interview."
We produce everything here in-house, like...
And you can watch us do
Yeah.
it. People just enjoy coming here and like being part of like this little family local
Yeah,
restaurant.
I think we have been very well received.
It's really like kind of laid back. It's not like your stereotypical coffee shop where like people come to work or people come to like sit on their computers all day. Like we do have some customers that do that, but for the most part, everyone's here like they want to socialize. We get a lot of regulars, and yeah, like everyone loves bread, everyone loves pastries. So yeah, it's great. I've even been out and about in St. Pete, and people have been talking about like the Crumb Factory, and I'm like, I work here. Like, this is so exciting.
That's one of my goals. Like I want to be a place that people associate the Crumb Factory with St. Pete. You know, so it's definitely important for us to be really part of the city.
Hi, I'm Chuck with the City of St. Petersburg Water Resource Department. Today, I want to talk about something small that makes a big difference, your sewer cleanout cap. Your sewer cleanout is an access point in your yard that allows you or a plumber to quickly inspect and service the pipe connecting your home to the city's sewer system. If the cap is missing or damaged, rainwater, floodwater, and debris can get in. And when rainwater enters the sewer system through an open cleanout, it can overwhelm the system, increase treatment costs, and even cause sewer overflows. The good news? It's a simple, inexpensive fix. A PVC cap costs just a few dollars at most hardware stores. Just screw it clockwise until it's snug. That small step helps protect public health, reduces costs, and keep both your neighborhood and the city's wastewater system running smoothly. So, check your clean out today and replace any missing or broken caps right away. For questions, call 727-893-7261 or visit stpete.org/waterresources.
It's very important for people to have diverse cultural experiences so that they can better understand and empathize with people around the world.
Sometimes you can take away things from those other cultures and add it into your own life, and it's very inspirational.
I learned so much about the culture of Japan, what it means to be in another country, what it means to have a host family in another country.
It's truly a very unique and amazing experience. It offers an immersion opportunity that's really once in a lifetime. You can't find it anywhere else.
I definitely learned so much more about their culture. I learned how everyday life is lived. You learn to love the people that you're staying with. You learn to love where you're surrounded.
One of the events was going to the Yashima Temple. It's a temple up on a mountain in Takamatsu, and it's otherworldly. It's absolutely beautiful.
I'd only really seen photos of the temples before, and it's quite a different experience seeing them in person.
I just remember it was so beautiful, and the more temples and things like that you visit, the more you appreciate the culture and appreciate the historical significance of Japan.
This is maybe a once-in-a-lifetime program. Even though Japan is on the other side of the world, I have another host family out there. I have another family out there.
It's really a great opportunity to exercise that interest in culture and learn more about Japanese culture specifically.
Not only is it educational, but it's also inspirational. It really inspired me to get out and travel more. And there's so much more for the world to see, different cultures, different foods, different lifestyles. And it's just so important that people realize and seek the world around them.
Okay, the new business item today, as you can see, we've got a packed room. We've got an update on youth programs, including internal initiatives and external partnerships. This is a item brought by me, and so really what I wanted to do was just kind of get a full-scale update of everything we've got going youth-related. It happens in multiple administrations and multiple departments, and so I'm very appreciative of everybody being here this morning. Thank you so much. I know it's an early morning because we've got a busy committee day, but just very thankful not only for you all being here and sharing what's going on and what we're doing in the city, but for all the work that you're doing. I wanted to say it now because God knows I'll forget because it is 8 o'clock in the morning. And so just very thankful for all of the departments that are helping our youth and all the work that you're doing. And so just a heartfelt thank you from me this morning, and looking forward to continuing the work. And so I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Brown, and who's going to kick us off. Dr. Brown, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, council members, committee. I'm here, as you said, this morning to kick off what is really a continued conversation from when I presented to you all back on September 4th. What you'll see on the slides, we're going to have to restart. So if you can recall, what was shared was the strategic focus areas, and there are 8 of them. And what I shared specifically was the work as it relates to what's coming from the Division of Education and Youth Opportunities. And if you can recall, I also shared that when the strategic focus areas were created, the entirety of the work throughout the city was considered. Also during that time, I talked about the whole child framework and the fact that that is an evidence-based, research-based model that that encapsulates what are best practices in developing youth from birth to young adulthood. So within whole child, we can move on now to the next one. Okay, thank you. There we go. Within whole child, what happens, or what are the considerations, what the elements are academic development, cognitive development, identity development, interpersonal, mental, physical, and social, emotional. So if we did a deep dive into every initiative that I presented on September 4th, you would find that those elements are within. I also shared that on the City of Education page on the city's site, our programs throughout the city, not just from Education and Youth Opportunities, are identified by these elements. We're being purposeful, intentional, and strategic. So with that, as you hear my colleagues speak for the rest of the time that we're here this morning, their programs also fit within the 8 strategic focus areas, and their programs also address the developmental areas in the whole child framework. And so that is the framing from which we're starting this morning, and as you listen, you can as you listen to them present on their work from their departments, you can hear the elements from the whole child framework and the strategic focus areas embedded within the work. Again, strategic, focused, purposeful, and intentional. So with that, I will turn the mic over to Mike.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Mike Jeffries, Community Enrichment Administrator, and it is a pleasure.
You guys always have gifts.
It's a pleasure to be with you this morning. I promise to keep my section under 2 hours, so we'll kick it off.
Bob just had a heart attack.
Right. Anytime that we're able to talk about the great work that we're doing, it's an exciting time, and today is an especially exciting day for us because we start the day off talking about all of the youth opportunities that we have, and then we get to let the community and let council know that we are being reaccredited by the CAPRA agency this afternoon at the council meeting. So it's really it's an exciting day, and I think that it's really telling that it's happening all on the same day. And then tomorrow as we talk about what we're doing for our youth and our community, we get to cut the ribbon on a brand new portion of a park in Harbordale. So we really have a lot going on this week, and it's very, very exciting. So we'll jump right in. As Dr. Brown indicated, this really, this turned out to be a challenging assignment. Not because we didn't have enough to talk about, but because we had too much to talk about. And it's where do you draw the line and where do we kind of hit that sweet spot? And so as we got together and we chatted with all of the administrators and Dr. Brown and the chiefs that are here in the room, it really became very, very obvious that youth opportunities, youth development, and education is really baked into everything that this city does. And so it's more than just one department. It's bigger than something that any one of us can sit up here and talk about. So as you see behind me, we have both chiefs. We have almost every administrator. I think Claude's the only one that got off the hook on this assignment.
Noted.
Well, but I'm sure he's got it. I'm sure he's got youth opportunities somewhere. We just probably overlooked him in trying to get this prepared. But long story short, we really started to figure out that as a municipality, as an organization, we don't always take credit for all of the youth opportunities that we're offering. And I think that's what's really great about what we're going to be talking about today. We really have kind of taken a comprehensive look at where all of the opportunities are. And we actually, as Rick and our team put this together, we were really pleasantly surprised at the dollar amount, at the investment that the city, that Mayor Welch and that council really is pushing forward to move the needle when it comes to youth opportunities. And that's one of the things that I did want to open with. As we started to look at initiatives that have been in place for many, many years, and then we started to look at initiatives that this council and Mayor Welch have really pushed forward, there are a lot of really new, neat, exciting initiatives that also are giving us the deliverables and are moving the needle in a really prescribed method, which I think is critical. Here with me, I've got Rick Kraft, who's our Assistant Director over the Recreation side of the house. And then behind him, we have Beth Lindsay, who is our Libraries Director. And we have, we've got Rob Lovelace, who's the manager over the Recreation Centers. And then we have Lynn Gordon, will probably be joining us soon. And we have Taylor Thornton, who is the manager over environmental areas, which would include Boyd Hill. So we've got all the different youth activities that are there. So as we jump into our first slide, as we really started to decide how we were going to communicate everything that we do for youth, we decided to take a kind of a linear approach. And so what we came up with was an age range that really starts with preschool and goes all the way through young adult. And as we're defining young adult, and we know that there's different definitions that float around, but we really went to age 24 because for us, that seemed to make the most sense with kind of what our community is demanding and what we're hearing from council as to how we need to do youth employment and really kind of hit the mark on some of those. So as you hear everything that we're going over this morning, keep in mind that we're going from preschool to young adult. As we start talking about the preschool components, there are many, many components that fit in. We did talk about including libraries, so we've got our literacy programs that are involved and included as well. Again, I mentioned this earlier, and we'll talk more about it this afternoon, but when it comes to measured success and it comes to really proving that we're being as efficient and effective as possible, we really leaned on our CAPRA standards. And we'll talk more about that this afternoon. I won't spend a ton of time now, but I think it's important that we know that each dollar that we're spending towards youth improvement, youth opportunities, youth education, that we're measuring that as well. And so that's really what the CAPRA umbrella is all about. It's best practices, it's making sure that we're doing what we said we're going to do, and it's having an external party come in and kind of audit that process and all of our programs. Rick did pass out a couple of documents. One of the documents that we have before you is the listing of all of the camps, or all the programs that we offer in Parks and Recreation and in libraries. And so this document isn't a new document. This is a document that we have worked on for our inventory for our CAPRA standards as well. So when you look at all of the offerings. We need to show that we've got all different ages covered, that we have all different demographics covered, and that we really are offering something for everyone. And that's what this list is about. This is also the list that Administrator Foster and I worked on with a committee several years back to kind of put together where's the baseline? What is it that we're doing, and where does that exist in all the different departments? So you have that in front of you. I won't spend a ton of time on that, but I thought that it was important that you have sort of the offerings that we have in both Parks and Recreation and in libraries. So when we started to look at the budgets for the different programs that we offer, we have really struggled with this, and it's something that the industry struggles with. So you have a rec center, you have Boyd Hill, you have facilities that we are funding. How do you really decide how much of that is used towards youth programming? And so we have, many years ago, we adopted kind of a national best practice where you look at your facility budgets in thirds. So the first third would be for your elementary, so preschool, elementary would be your first third. Your second would be middle school and high school. And then the last third would be kind of the adult and community-facing community impact. So we calculated the programmatic budgets at 11 recreation centers, TASCO, and then TR, our therapeutic program. And we are sitting at over $11 million in what we are budgeting strictly for youth opportunities and programmings at the rec centers. And again, we'll talk more about that as we move through, but we really thought that was important to kind of level set with that. That's a number that we don't frequently talk about. That's a number that you know, is left off the table frequently when we're talking about programs and different offerings, especially when we start talking to different organizations that are coming in and making presentations to council and sharing ideas. I think it's important that you know that this is really the baseline of what council and the mayor are supporting as far as the facilities that we have. And again, my plan is to do questions at the end. If you guys have questions that are pressing, you need to jump in, let me know. Happy to be flexible with that. Another key component that we wanted to talk about is outreach. So we've had some different discussions at some different meetings where we've had some different external groups offer suggestions on how to do outreach. I thought it was important to really share with each of you the outreach that we're currently doing and the outreach that we've been doing. And I think that as we get further down through the presentation, you'll see that we, our numbers indicate that we are connecting with the community in a successful way. A couple different things that are baked into our programs. Each of our rec centers, our supervisors, our teen supervisors, they are active in several Pinellas County school programs, including PTAs, SACs. The other thing that we do is we frequently participate in different school events. We have gone door to door and we've done door hangers door to door, especially if we're in, if we have a facility that is underutilized, has capacity, which I can tell you right now, we don't have that scenario at our facilities. But in the past, when we've had that, we have gone door to door. I think most of you have probably experienced this during your campaign seasons. The door-to-door is not as successful as it once was. We find that if you're knocking on doors, it's very frequent that folks don't open the door, they don't want to talk to somebody that's standing there. So we find that it's more successful to have tables at events like Councilmember Givens did at some of our rec centers. We had tables that were there, and each of you have given us opportunities to present the offerings of the department and really connect with a community that is seeking information. So we make sure that we have information at trunk or treats, we have information at fall festivals, we have tables at some of the special events that are in the parks. So we really make sure that we are getting the word out there and making sure that we've gotten the information to the community. We also have social media. We work very diligently. We have a social media staff member who keeps the social media websites up to date and really keeps it live, which I think is what this segment of the community is really looking for. We also work very closely with our neighborhood